all men are cheaters, all men are trash. If you find yourself saying those things, that's because your attitude sucks and you're actually doing yourself a disservice, because negativity is only going to bring more negativity towards you.
In the book, they say all men are blank. And if you find yourself saying pigs, jerks, cheaters, like if 10 to 20% of that list is negative, then you do not respect men. And that's why you are going to get non-respected men.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chemical X.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Chemical X podcast. I'm your girl, Alessia.
I'm your girl, Veronica. I almost forgot my name. I'm your girl, Veronica. And I don't know why I just blanked how to do this. And as usual, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, and leave us 5 stars on all audio platforms. And check out our merch on chemicalxpodcast.com.
So I feel like I have no choice but to pick up the book right away.
Yeah.
Does everybody see what it says? It's not him, it's you. And the book cover is literally a mirror. So like, it's not him, it's you. Meanwhile, you're staring at yourself.
Yeah.
So basically, it's us.
Yeah. So ladies, this one is for you. This episode is going to be about this book, which basically, listen, I haven't read it unless you give me the synopsis, but it's basically all about like why dating isn't working for you, why your relationships aren't working, why maybe you're not finding the right kind of guy. And we're going to discuss the top 5 points that this book brings up.
Yes. Before we even start, I do want to read the topics. So the first one is you think men have a clue. The second mistake we make is your attitude sucks. The third is you think rejection is about you. The fourth is you have weak standards. And the fifth is you don't actually get men. We'll dive into the first 5 of the 10 chapters.
And I feel like they're kind of like the main, most important ones. Yeah. And I thought there was a lot of interesting things that
you found while you read it.
That your highlighted points brought up.
I wrote this down because I thought it was cute in notes. When it comes to women, most men do not have a clue, which makes us have the advantage. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think women tend to have the advantage when it comes to dating, but we don't feel like we do.
I think that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, let's start first of all from the first point. The first point from the top.
That was the first one. You think men have a clue.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. Sorry. So, yeah, I do think that majority of the time women think men are the ones who hold the power when it comes to dating and stuff, because they're kind of like the more...
They have to make the plans and they have to like kind of get you.
Exactly. And we feel like it's kind of their decision if they like us, but we don't realize that like as women, we kind of do hold the power.
We do.
And there's a lot more at stake for a guy kind of thing when it comes to going up to a girl, planning a date, what goes wrong. Like for women, like we literally just show up. Like pretty much. We show up and we give a review.
But we only show up if we want to, which makes it so hard for a guy to be like, am I going to risk being rejected?
Exactly.
So I feel like when you already go in with the energy of like, I have the power, then your energy is less like desperado and less like, oh, I hope he likes me. It's like, no, bitch. Let's see if we even like this guy who has to already put in all the work.
Absolutely. And that I agree with. But I think it depends the person. But I think there's definitely a lot of women who believe that men hold the reins.
I really think at the beginning it's fully women. I think it could, change a little once you start dating. And then it's like, I feel like it switches a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like you need to prove. Then we fall in love with you. And then it's like,
Uno reverse.
But I think once you realize that we have the power, it should give you a lot more confidence in the dating game.
So one of the points in the book, men aren't necessarily as picky as women, which I think we believe as women that men have all this criteria and they're like, I want a girl like this. But actually women tend to be a little pickier because we have harder categories to nail. Like we're like it might not be like has to be the hottest guy, but it's gonna be like has to, I don't know, like there's all these categories that we like pin on a guy, and we kind of feel like men are like scrutinizing us for our looks and who we are, and that they're like so fucking picky. But I think they're a little easier going when it comes to dating.
And like in the book they show like a graph from like 1 to 10 being like hot as hell and like 6 being like average. And like they talk about how if a man has everything that a woman's looking for, then a woman is just going to be okay with the 6 and she's not asking for more than the 6.
Do you find that women are pickier than men?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think like...
I think we're both picky, but for different reasons.
So you know what I heard?
What?
If you are a woman looking to get married, like you're looking for your man, and you're not wearing rings stacked up all on your fingers, the chances of you getting married are just slimmer.
Wait, why?
Because guys, their subconscious mind just sees it as like a feminine woman who's like wearing a lot of rings. They could just like picture you as a wife.
Really?
And we're both not wearing rings.
I have one on and it's on my wedding ring finger, so we're off to a terrible start. That's great. Honestly, if that's actually true, that's crazy. And I've heard of so many of these like just like little subconscious things that we don't realize.
Yeah.
But ladies, if you want to maybe, you know, put in one last little extra in order to lock in your man, get yourself rings and get yourself a lot of fucking rings, okay?
Like, babe, what are you looking at?
Yeah, babe, stop. He's like, babe, why can't you bend your fingers?
Why can't I even find a space to put a ring on it? They're all taken.
Literally. So guys, go crazy, but don't go too crazy on every jewels and use our discount code
Chemical X at checkout to receive 20% off your entire order. But I think men are picky, but if they like you, they'll see beyond the things that they don't like. Whereas I feel like women were like, I don't like this. Like, it's in the early dating stage. Like, we have options. We're not going to like settle or whatever.
I also think we put a lot of like emphasis on guys liking looks, which don't get me wrong, like for men, like it's always about looks at the beginning and that tends to be like the number one thing that men look for right away. But if a guy is attracted to you, it doesn't mean that you need to be like the hottest girl in the room. It doesn't mean you need to be like 11 on 10 perfect. It's just about like being attractive to get his attention. So I think that's where we kind of go wrong, as we think in order to get their attention, we must be perfect. We need to be the hottest girl in the room. But the reality is we just need to like have that attraction with them. And it doesn't matter really if you're cute or you're like fucking beautiful, as long as they have that attraction with you, which I find they're different. Attraction and beauty are like different things. Yeah. And I find if a man is just like attracted to you, he'll be willing to be like, oh, like you're beautiful to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's expecting a 10 out of 10 supermodel. He's not. And they speak about that in the book, how like attractiveness and beauty is like completely different. And that if you're attracted to somebody, then the beauty kind of grows. And it's like, they don't really care if like somebody else doesn't find that person attractive. Yeah. It's just like they're beautiful to them. They just have to have the initial attractiveness at the beginning. And then it's like, you don't need to be the supermodel. Yeah. Interesting. It's kind of like what Logan Paul was saying in his... Did you hear the interview of Logan Paul? No. With his whole fight thing? So the guy that he's like going to fight... Dylan Dennis. Yeah. I want to go. It's in Manchester. October 16th. I don't know. I'm the biggest fan, but you didn't see the clip. I've been watching Dylan Dennis and all his fucking... Like, he's literally posting his girl. Like, I don't know if you saw. Well, that's what I'm saying. Apparently, he was like roasting his girl, saying that she's like a man and all that stuff. And... Logan Paul did like he was on an interview and he was basically just saying like, look, like I'm at a point in my life where like I don't give a fuck what people say. Like, I love my girl. She's literally a supermodel. I don't care what you think about her. I don't care if you don't think she's beautiful. Like, she's fucking beautiful. And like, she's beautiful to me. So like, nothing you say literally matters. I'm paraphrasing here, but all in all to say, it's like, obviously, yeah, she actually is a supermodel, but he's just like, I don't care what anyone else thinks. Like, this is my fucking beautiful supermodel and I love her. And everyone can have their opinion of like, oh, like she's not that hot or this person's not that hot. But it's like when you're in love, that person is literally the supermodel to you. Like that's your taste. That's what you like. Yes, you know? Exactly. So like another reason why women have the power is because men aren't good at reading people. Like us women, we read through everything. And that's why we have like better intuition. So because we're able to read people better, we're like taking less risks. Right. Like men are almost like dumb when it comes to that, you know, where it's like if you're interested in someone, you can kind of place yourself and make it seem like he's the one approaching you, but like you've planned it all, you know? Right. So it's like men don't see that stuff. So because you have the advantage, men are not in control. Right. You know? Absolutely. And also like it's kind of like you said, like making men think that they're making the decision and like reading into things. That's super true. Like I feel like women just in general tend to have better intuition.
Yeah.
And we're able to read people off the bat. Like, I think it's really true what you said. Like, women take less risks because we like analyze before we go on a date with someone.
And we
who
also
the
like
person is.
set ourselves up where even if we're planting for somebody to make a move, we don't risk the rejection because we're so smart in how we plan it. For example, like 5 years ago, I was like at a club. This is a long time ago. And there was this really, really hot guy. And I was like, hey, he's never going to talk to me. So like I clearly have to find a way to make the first move. And I was literally leaving with my glass and it wasn't even fully empty. And I was like, I saw him staring at me and I'm like, maybe if I just like go around his table and like pretend like my drink is done and just like place it on his table, he might say something, you know? And like I went there and like I was like putting my drink down and like walking away and he was like, you think you could just put your like glass over there? And it's like, he didn't feel like he was going to get rejected because I made the first move, even though he knew.
Yeah.
He didn't know I was going to do that.
Yeah. And even though it wasn't technically the
he
first
didn't have
move.
to be like, hello, I've been staring at you from across the room. And like, I really think there was less risk for him because I made it easy for him to do it and still make him feel like it was his decision, even though it wasn't.
Absolutely. Which I think is a really interesting thing and goes back to the whole point of like women hold the power. Like you can set yourself up when you want something to happen. Like we have all the ways to make shit happen. Whether it's just doing like a subtle thing like that. Like there's so many ways that you can kind of make things happen the way you want them to happen, and you're not necessarily like putting the first move or like really going out there and doing it, but you're setting everything up for it to work out. And I think that's our advantage that we have as women.
Like, when have you ever heard a man who's like gonna go and like put a drink down because he thinks that she might see and she might say something? Like, literally you would do that, the girl wouldn't even realize. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like girls are so calculated. Yeah. So we hold the power.
Absolutely.
And the thing is if they don't react or they don't want to, then that's also okay, because you don't want to be with somebody who is not your type. Like, in the end, you want somebody to pick you because they're your type and you're their type. So, like, we have to look at rejection as not like, oh my God, like, he doesn't think I'm pretty. Because you don't want to be with a person who doesn't think you're pretty anyways. You want to be with somebody who's your type. Yeah. Because that'll work out better.
Which is our second point is, you know, taking rejection like too personally. Yeah. I think that's something... I think both women and men do it. Yeah. I think it's like inevitable that you take rejection personally. Like, doesn't matter how many times I'll get rejected, it will never get old. It'll never get easier.
It'll never sting less. Yeah.
But the reality is, when you take rejection so personally, it's very hard to date and it's very hard to like have a clear mind. Because I think you fixate so much on like, he rejected me, therefore it means I'm not good enough in like XYZ ways, or like maybe he doesn't think I'm pretty enough, or all these things. But we're basing all these opinions on someone who already doesn't want you. So someone who doesn't want you is not at all the type of person that you want to be going for in the first place. So even if he doesn't think you're his type or whatever, why would that matter? Because that's not someone that you're going to end up with, because precisely they don't want you. Why would you want that? That's not your type because they don't want you. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So why do we need to please the people that we don't even want?
You only want the people who want you. You don't want the people who are not going to be your type and are going to want you because the friends want you. Yeah. You really want somebody to be like, that's my type. That's who I want, because you'll just have an overall better relationship. And I think a lot of the times it's like, there's so much more that goes into it than just look. Sometimes somebody will see you and maybe it'll be wrong, but like there's things that requirements they want and need or want at that time that they don't think are the same. So they'll just like walk away, and it has nothing to do with like rejection. It has to do with like wanting certain things. I feel like a lot of the times women take it so personal, like it's a look thing, like he's not interested, but it's like, it could be that guy is going through something completely different. He wants certain things, you know? So we have to stop looking at it as like it's fully focused on physical and it being really more about like everything else.
Yeah. And like you were saying, you know, when we reject a guy, let's say, we have all our reasons for it. Like, it's never like, oh, I rejected him because like I fucking hate him and he's not a good enough person or like whatever. It's always just like, oh, like, you know, we didn't we're not compatible on this area, and like this spark just wasn't there. Like there's always like genuine, like logical reasons that are not really like, yes, it's personal, but it's not actually personal the way you believe it is.
It's not personal to you. It's personal to them.
Exactly. So it's like, if you're able to reject someone and think of it not personally towards them, then why don't you channel that energy when you yourself are maybe getting rejected, or like something is ending, or like it didn't work out? Like, don't put it on yourself. Just be like, okay, well, that's that person's problem. Not that it's a problem, but it's like, it's not about you. It's about them. It's about what they want. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's not you. And it hurts. It hurts to hear that, but it's not about you.
It's not. It's never been about you.
Yeah.
And the second we realize that like it's not about you, it should feel better. Like why would I want somebody who doesn't want me, or like is not about me? You want someone who's 100% about you. So when you know that, you're like, okay, yeah, no, please go on your merry way.
Yeah. I also think the fear of rejection ruins a lot of relationships, because either you're so afraid of rejection that like you never want to take the relationship further, or
open yourself up.
Yeah. Or B, you're so afraid of rejection that you try to kind of like mold yourself to who that person is so that you can be what they quote unquote want. But the reality is doing that never ends well, because you're not being your true self. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're trying to be what they want because you're so afraid that they're going to reject you if not. But in reality, you're fucking yourself over, because that person is not going to want the fake version of you.
100%.
And that relationship, even if it lasts for a little, they're going to eventually realize that you're kind of not really the person that you played off to be. And you're also not getting someone who loves you for you.
Yeah.
So that's why I think like when you're afraid of being rejected, it creates so many roadblocks for you.
Yes. And in the book, they talk about the 2 C's. So it's chemistry and compatibility. And a lot of the times we like chalk it up to appearance, but it's really about lifestyle, personality, value system, profession, goals, and what kind of relationship they're looking for. So it's not just about like appearance. It's like the rejection could be about all those other things. So it's like you might meet the hottest doctor in the club, but it's like he wants to be with another doctor, so it doesn't matter how hot you are.
Yeah.
The 2 C's don't line up. Like he's looking for somebody who's maybe in the medical field.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like those things are all going through someone's mind and you have no idea. Just like I'll meet someone and I'll be like, yeah, he's hot, but like it's not somebody I want to settle down with because X, Y, and Z. So it's like we have our kind of like list criteria, and someone else does too. Yeah. And we have to allow the same respect. The same way we give it, we take it.
Absolutely. Just don't give it. So on to the third point. I think this is the most interesting point, and it's something that we briefly spoke about in our last episode, I think. Or
maybe this will be the first one.
I don't know. In one of our episodes, we spoke about it briefly, about your attitude towards men can be a really big defining factor in why certain things aren't working for you, why dating isn't working for you, or why you can't seem to find the right guy.
Nobody wants a negative girl.
All men are cheaters. Literally no men are loyal. All men are trash. If you find yourself saying those things, that's because your attitude sucks and you're actually doing yourself a disservice, because negativity is only going to bring more negativity towards you. Especially if you're a man, why would you want someone who's already has that negativity towards you? And I just think carrying that along is, you're just inviting negativity. When you're going around being like, all men are cheaters, like it's so hard to find a man, it's impossible to be loyal. Like if you find yourself,
well, you're speaking that into existence, and then that's exactly what you're going to be around. And your inner circle is clearly not working for you. You need to switch it up.
If that's all you're seeing, then there's a reason for that. If all the men around you are cheaters, then yeah, for sure, when you get a guy, he's going to be a cheater too. Why? Because that's the energy that you're bringing into your circle. That's the energy that you're bringing into your life. And I think if you're always telling yourself that, it's kind of like a manifestation, you know? You're telling yourself all men are cheaters, all men are liars, all men are jerks. Okay, that's what you're going to get. But if you actually have an open mind and you actually have like respect towards men, then you'll get the men who are deserving of the respect.
Yup.
And I think that's a big mistake that so many people do. Like I always see people like shit talking and like being like all men are trash, like all men are idiots. And it's just like, okay, well, you're saying all this and then what? How are you gonna find a man now after you're running your mouth? So that what? You find a guy and the whole time you're waiting for him to prove you wrong?
Yeah. In the book, they say all men are blank. And if you find yourself saying pigs, jerks, cheaters, then if 10 to 20% of that list is negative, then you do not respect men. And that's why you are going to get non-respected men.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. I mean, it's what you put out there is what you're going to get. I also think you're accepting that for yourself. I think the people who go around saying like no one's loyal anymore, everyone's a cheater, you're almost kind of accepting that that's your faith. So you're like, okay, all men are cheaters. Like, it's just about which one is.
And I don't believe that you actually believe that. I think it's just easier to fall under that category because you feel like you're hurting yourself less. If I accept the fact that all men cheat, then I technically am getting less hurt because I'm like waiting for it to happen. I'm manifesting it versus like me having to be like, I don't think men cheat and then I get cheated on. It's a lot harder of a pill to swallow. So I feel like people say that just to hurt themselves less.
Yeah, like a coping mechanism.
It's a coping mechanism.
For sure. I just think like having a shitty attitude doesn't make anyone want to be around you and like doesn't make anyone want to prove you wrong, and it's not going to bring good things towards you. And I really think that if you find yourself so negative towards dating, towards men, take a step back. Like if you're at a place where you're hating every single guy that you meet, first of all, look at who you're going for. There is
not
always
even
a pattern.
Look within first.
But no, what I'm saying, like, look at where you're even looking for men, because that's gonna show you something. But also take a step back and look within, because why are you trying to date men if you have no respect for men and you are hating on men, and that on all you're thinking about is negative traits of men? Yeah. Why are you going out and trying to date them? At that point, you need to sit back and heal whatever it is that like your traumas, maybe it's like past relationships that scarred you, or your dating experience really scarred you. Like, you need to be going in there with like an open mind and actually like, not that you need to be going in there thinking that everyone's amazing and everyone has good qualities, but just that
until they do you wrong, you have no reason to hate them.
Or just have like that openness that, yeah, there is shitty people, but there's also a lot of good people, and it's just about finding the right one. And if they're not the right one, then that's okay. And it's not like because I met a guy and he was like an idiot, like, and he was a douchebag, like every other guy is just like him. Like, no, you have to go in with a positive mind.
And I think women do that a lot. It's like we think because we dated X, Y, and Z, like 3 people, then we think we know how men think, and all men are like that. And that's the misconception. It's like, just because 3 people were like that doesn't mean millions and millions and millions of men are like that.
Yeah. I totally
and normally if the 3 people you dated are probably around the same type of person, so it's not even like 3 different characters. It's probably, if you haven't healed and like worked on yourself, you're probably going for the same type of people.
Absolutely. It's always like that.
Yeah.
And then you think that, oh, the same kind of guys always want you. It's like, oh, okay, but why? Look within.
So in the book, they talk about the scarcity myth, and that talks about you kind of just being like scared what's gonna happen. So you'll just put out into existence like all the good guys are taken. It's impossible in 2023 to find a good guy. Like, all these things you say out loud are just causing you to not find a good guy.
Yeah.
Instead, switch it up and be like, there's actually so many good guys out there. They're just waiting for somebody like me.
Yeah.
Or like, just like switch your mind frame.
So this episode, it was for the ladies, but we never forget about the men. We never do. Because why? This podcast is sponsored by Manscaped, guys. Manscaped is the best in below the waist grooming for men. And honestly, if you don't have like some kind of hygiene ritual, especially when it comes to hooking up with a girl, especially if you have a girlfriend, because you're getting a reoccurring guest, okay? So your reviews need to be up there. So head on to Manscaped, get yourself literally everything you need to be smelling good, feeling smooth, and looking fresh.
With our discount code ChemicalX at checkout, you'll receive 20% off your entire order and free shipping.
Well, it's so true. I mean, if I go around my life thinking like, oh, everyone's already successful, there's not enough money in the world for me, like you're basically just sitting there waiting for something to come on your doorstep and actually be good. But the reality is that's never going to bring you anywhere. Yeah, okay, there's a lot of opportunities that are taken, and there's a lot of things that are like oversaturated, and maybe a lot of the good guys are taken, but not all of them are. And if you constantly tell yourself like all the good guys are taken, like everyone's married, and like there's no one to meet, everyone sucks in this generation, that's your problem.
It stems from fear, and no one ever gets anything when you're fearful of something. It's when you're fearless and you like think the opposite, and you're like, all men, like there is good men versus like all men suck. So basically the scarcity myth comes from fear. And it just means that you need to expand your inner circle. So change your friend group, change the people you go out with, switch some things in your life, heal and work towards that path. And you will see a complete like difference in the type of men you go for and attract.
Yeah, because it's true. If you're always finding yourself attracting like people who, you know, or maybe you're not finding a guy and like you're in your like surroundings, or you feel like all the good guys that you are finding, they're all taken, or like the people you are meeting are so shitty. If you're feeling any of those ways, you need to make a change, whether it's where you're meeting people, whether it's the people you're going out with, whether it's all of these things, like all those things make a change. And like I said before, if you feel like, oh, all guys are cheaters, that's probably because you're surrounded by a bunch of people getting cheated on. Like for sure, when all your girlfriends got cheated on, what are you going to think? Of course you're going to think, yeah, I'm going to find a man who's going to cheat on me too. But you have to look within your circle, look within the people around you, look within like who you're attracting and the type of people you're going for.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a big thing because we tend to always put the blame on other people and be like, well, it's because like men are cheaters. And yeah, okay, like people are cheaters and the blame should be on them. But also if you're constantly going after like the same people who you know have those tendencies or who you know have certain lifestyles, then is it really on them? Obviously, yes, it's on them. But you get what I'm saying? Like there's also some accountability that you have to take in the sense of like, stop trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
And I also think this is not in the book, but if you're saying all men cheat, then that's assuming that you think that you would cheat. Does that make sense? Like if you say all men cheat, you're kind of saying that you don't believe that there's loyal men out there because you're not sure if you can be 100% loyal. Because I think if you realize that you can actually be 100% loyal to someone, then you could believe that somebody could be a back to you. I think it's harder for you to believe it if you don't believe it within yourself. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Because
and
it's
actually,
like, it's a mirror. It's a reflecting
projection.
Like door, a projection. Like,
I think definitely, I don't think necessarily in all cases.
Not in all cases, but I think
sure.
Majority. If you don't have the self-confidence in knowing that you can find a partner like that, it's because you might not feel like you can be 100% loyal.
Absolutely.
Because I think when you think you can be a good partner, you know what you bring. Like, I think you feel like deep down, you know that there's somebody else who is also like you, who has those same values. I think it's harder to believe it when you don't have the values and you don't believe that you can have it.
It's really interesting that you're saying that because I always like, that was always my mentality when I was like dating. It's always like, well, I know that I'm a good partner and I know that I'm like loyal to the bone and I know that I would never cheat. So that's always been my kind
then there
of like,
you go. That's why you've always thought you can find a partner who can be loyal.
Because I was like, if I could do it,
there's many of you.
Exactly. It's like if I'm this way and I know I truly am this way and I'm the only one that could know I truly am, then I know that there's someone else out there that can have this same value. Or even just thinking about like cheating, or like in the past being in relationships where you're like, oh my God, like I wonder if I would cheat on him. Like any of those things, like I think that creates the doubt in your mind that you're like, everyone's a cheater.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Fourth point and great point of this book is all about your standards. So your standards are probably weak.
Yes, and I want to read a part in the book that I thought was really interesting. Overall, everyone, male or female, wants the same thing: a partner who we're attracted to, who we really click well with. In your fantasies, you may imagine you'd click well with a gorgeous guy or a doctor, but in reality, who you wind up clicking with is rarely who you've imagined. Keep an open mind and don't rule out men on the surface characteristics. Rule them out because they aren't right for you. I feel like so many times we'll rule out somebody that we've literally never given a chance to because we're like, doesn't fit the criteria of things that like we want and we're looking looking for. And as good as it is to be like, I know what I want, it's also not okay to like rule out people that you never even gave a chance to, that you might actually vibe with and click well. Maybe that's the reason it's never been working out for you, because you have this standard of a certain person that probably either doesn't want to be with you and is not gravitated towards you for many reasons.
I mean, especially when it's about looks and stuff and like height and all these things, I feel like it's already so rare to find someone that you really have chemistry with and you really click with. And to put that extra pressure of like, okay, but I also want someone who's like this and has tattoos and is 6'2" and has all these characteristics, that at the end of the day, it's like the person you're probably gonna like literally fall in love with is not gonna have those things, and you're gonna be fine with it. You totally will be fine with it. I feel like the same way your standards can fuck you over, it can also leave you in a relationship that you don't want to be in. Because I think sometimes people will be with a guy and then they don't want to leave him because they're like, oh, but like he's my type and like he's this and he has this job, and like it's all kind of like surface level factors that they feel like, I don't want to leave him because he's so my type and I'm never gonna find a guy who's like physically my type like this or has the job that I want. But then it's like, okay, but there's so many other parts of the actual real relationship that are not working.
And especially as women, like looks completely go away once like we get to know somebody. So it's like the things we thought we wanted and needed physically, they're not even there afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, how does he treat me? Like
That he's biting you. But yeah, no, continue. But yeah, no, if he can have all the things, but he doesn't treat you well, he's not giving you the things you actually want in a relationship, what do these qualities matter? And it's so true. I think we like so often put like in our criteria box, I think sometimes we can be a little too strict and put too much importance on those qualities. I'm not saying go for the ugliest guy that you're not even attracted to, but it's like, have an open mind when it comes to dating, and don't be like, okay, he doesn't fit X, Y, and Z category, like I'm not even gonna see him.
I think that's why it's so important to look so much less at looks, because I feel like when you go for a guy who is not your type and then treats you like badly, your defense mechanism is always like, wow, like I chose to go for a guy that literally physically wasn't my type, and now he's literally like, I'm the best he's ever gonna get, and now he's still like treating me like shit. You have a harder time swallowing a pill when like someone is not your physical type and then also treats you like shit.
Yeah.
But you're never gonna be like, wow, that's not my normal type, but like he treats me so well, so maybe I'm looking in the wrong places, or like the type I want is not the type of people that are like want me, so maybe let me look at somebody who's like maybe choosing me than somebody that like I'm choosing but then like treats me like shit.
Absolutely. And also I feel like we don't realize like relationships, when they're, you know, the right kind of relationship, they last a long time. And looks, it only matters so much. Like beginning of a relationship, yeah, it's so fun to be like really attracted to your partner, especially when they're your type, like it fuels it and everything. But after a while, like the real qualities is what matters. Are you guys best friends? Do you guys agree on so many things? Do you guys have the same values in life? Like these are the things that actually make or break a relationship. So when we put so much importance on like little qualities that are like actually weak standards, obviously you're going to be going for a pool of men that's already smaller, right? You're not going for the real qualities that actually matter. You're like, okay, well, are you 6'2"? Are you this? And are you that? And then from there, you're like, okay, where's my man now? You know?
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. Like you can't start doing that. You have to be open. You have to be open to like making certain sacrifices in certain areas, and you're going to be much happier in the long run. But obviously still, like, again, I'm not saying go for someone who you're not attracted to. Like, attraction still really matters.
But attraction could also grow.
Yeah.
The same way it can he's just biting my toe.
Fucking annoying.
The same way it fades when we start to like someone and they treat us well is the same way it grows when they treat you well.
Absolutely.
Like,
Like,
did I just say the same thing?
I think you just said the same thing. Like, when a guy treats you well and he's not that cute, suddenly he's gonna be a 10 out of 10
Oh yeah.
or a 9 or an 8, but like better, you know. But it just grows on you when you really love someone. Like, you're not gonna be like, oh fuck, he's 5'10" instead of 5'11". You know what I mean? Like, you just have to keep an open mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think sometimes like we really tend to put ourselves in a box, and honestly this point actually goes for men too, because I think they do the same thing as well, of like focus too much on like shallow qualities And it's just going to bring you a relationship that's going to be based on shallow aspects. And that's not really a relationship.
It's the
way he leaves. He bounces. He's like,
I didn't even know he could grab that full of shoe.
He fucking takes it. You know that TikTok where it's like, you're coming home with me? That's what he just did. So basically, that's all to say, guys. Sometimes it starts at the very beginning and it starts with what you're looking for. And maybe take a look at that criteria list and make some edits.
You know what my edits are now? I don't want to look for what I like. I want what likes me to approach me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Let me see your DMs. Let's go through those and see what likes you. Hey, goddess.
I meant less on DMs and more just like
in real life.
In real life.
Yeah.
In the real.
Honestly, sometimes like every relationship that I've really like been like, whoa, has always come out of nowhere. Not necessarily they chose me, but like it's always been something that I didn't expect. Or like I've had a lot of relationships that I was like, didn't expect this to happen because you're not my type, you're not this. And like we really got along and it really worked out. Like
I find I gravitate a lot more towards people that choose me in a sense. And like the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't really feel like your dog. I rather you like approach me, and like we were kind of saying before about like if that person is your type, then they're gonna be drawn to you. I feel like because I'm really at a state where like I look less at looks, I feel like it works better if someone's just like, I'm your type. So we kind of like get rid of that bullshit of like, oh my God, like I feel like if somebody chooses you and they're approaching you, chances are if they're not fully your type at the beginning, they're gonna make a lot more effort so that at some point you're just gonna start to like them.
I'm not gonna lie though, I feel like a lot of my relationships started out like that. I tend
it makes sense
to go for people who are already interested in me, and then
it grows and develops.
I grow and develop. I don't know why, actually, now that you say that, and maybe it's a thing because I'm like, I don't want to be rejected by someone that I'm like pinning for, but
no, I don't think it's that.
I've never really been the type to like pin after people. Like I've always just been like, someone will like show interest and I'll be like, like,
because like we were saying before, it's like you want the person who is already your type at the beginning. It's always going to be a better relationship because they're choosing you. Yeah. And men are hunters. They want to choose their person.
Hunt.
You know?
They want to hunt.
But in that same beat, just because they choose you doesn't mean you don't drop the glass so that they choose you. You know what I mean? Like if your expressions are very like open and you're smiling and your body language is saying, come to me, then they're going to feel less rejected.
Come to mama.
They're going to feel less rejected and they're going to make a move.
Yeah. Actually,
but like, don't expect to be sad and like arms closed and like very like bitchy. There's a difference between not being accessible to everyone and also still being like good energy and good vibes for somebody to feel like they could approach you. Yeah. I think it's two different things.
I mean,
don't be desperado going up to every guy, but like if there is someone you're interested in, there's a way of doing it where you're not.
I think if you're looking to be spoken to, there's a certain energy that you need to have. Like everyone has that one friend who's like, no guys talk to me, but then the whole time they're in the club like this. And you're like, hey, what the fuck? Well, no wonder. Like I can tell you why no one spoke to you. But like the way you project your energy will project. So if you're going in with good vibes and like you give off this aura that people want to talk to you because you want to be spoken to, that's naturally gonna like magnet. It's going to create like a natural magnet where people are going to be drawn to actually want to speak to you. But if you're like, I want guys to speak to me, but then you're like back turned, facing the bar, looking down, insecure, like arms crossed, and looking around the room like bitchy. I'm telling you, when it comes for like a guy to have to go up to you, it's like, well, I'm not choosing her.
Well, guys are already scared of rejection, right?
Absolutely.
You better make it as easy as you can for them to feel like they're not going to get rejected. And if you're doing all those things, then they're like, and you know, you might be the girl who's like that, and then they say hi and you're like, nice, but they're not going to take the risk.
It's scary. And the very few people, they're going to have fucking balls to take the risk, but it's scary.
Wait, now I want that guy.
Yeah. But you know what? I think if you're like open to opportunity and you want to meet someone and you're going out and you want to meet new people, like I know it's really like lame, but like eye contact goes a long way. And like the way you walk into a room goes a long way. If you're walking into a room and you're shy, you're looking down, you're like just focused on your friend and you're just like in your corner, no one is going to see you because you see no one. But when you see everyone sees you. I know it's really lame to say, but it's true. Like when you walk into a room, like I had seen this TikTok where it's like if you want to make your presence known, when you walk into a room, like make brief eye contact with everyone, like scan the room, like don't be afraid to like have the energy of like, yeah, you see me, I see you seeing me, you know, and like make eye contact. And I think that's something that really changes the way people perceive you, because it's one thing to look at someone when they're not looking at you, but when you look at someone and they kind of mirror that back, it's like I already feel like I know you a little bit more than if I was just staring at you from like the side, and because we had some kind of connection, some kind of interaction. And also,
if you looked at each other and like a guy comes up to you, it's like there's already a story there. There's already like, you're not like, who the fuck is this? You know,
like who are you?
You're not gonna be like, who are you?
Yeah, it's because
like you saw each other, exactly. So you're already gonna be more open minded to that.
1000%. And I think we don't realize how far our energy goes, and even just like
if you're with your friends and you're just laughing, people are down to come to your table and vibe with you.
Yeah, you better have funny friends.
Well, luckily, that's the only thing we have.
She's gonna be at the table.
I saw a meme that was like, if I actually reposted on my story. If people were to see my, not group chats, my conversations with my friends, we'd be in jail or something. And I was like, wow, that's fucking facts.
Well, you see the podcast, so it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah-ish.
The last point that I had, which I think we briefly spoke about it before, but we'll talk about it again, is a big mistake that women make is grouping men all together. So putting men into all one group and being like, all men are trash or all men are liars because of your personal experiences. And obviously, yes, your personal experience, they don't mean nothing. Like obviously we learn, we grow, we become smarter, we learn certain things that help us in the future. But like, okay, you're from your two boyfriends, they both fucked you over. Now you're gonna go on with the new knowledge that you're like, okay, well, all men are gonna do exactly what my last two boyfriends did. That's not fair. And you're also going into every new thing with that standard already set of like, they're going to do the same thing. And that's not energy that anyone wants to be put on them. Like no one wants to start a relationship with someone who's like waiting on their downfall. Like it's like, okay, well, I don't even want to do this. Do you know what I mean? And I just think we tend to be like, all men this, all men that. Like it's always like everyone. And yes, there will be a lot of people who aren't great, but there's a lot of people who are. And if you put everyone to the same standard, the only person you're fucking over is yourself, realistically. Because if you convince yourself that all men are that way, you're ending up with one of them, babe. And guess what? You're going to be probably settling for someone that is trash, is a cheater, because you've already accepted that all men are cheaters and all men are trash. Does that make sense?
It 100% makes sense.
I don't remember if we spoke about this on the podcast, or we spoke about it outside, but how like if the people around you and like your friends are always like telling you shitty stories about men, that's also going to have an impact on how you view people and how you view dating and how you view men, because it's almost like all their stories are kind of your stories too. So you take their personal experiences as well and group them together.
For example, I have a friend who's been in a relationship for a long time, and she's kind of at this stage where she's like, you know, like, I don't know if I want to be single. And as a joke,
every single one of our friends' boyfriends are listening to this. Like,
no, it's no one, nobody here knows, not from the city. But she goes, you know, like, I don't know. And me as a joke, I'm like, the dating pool out there, it's madness, you know? So it's like right away she hears that I'm joking around, you know? I think there's a lot of, you know, anyway.
Maybe she needs to change you.
100%. But I'm saying like, it's just like dating these days, dating in 2023 is like insane. It's madness. It's so hard with social media. Like all these things that you're saying, like let's say you're getting advice from someone, you have to also be careful who you get advice from, because it's always going to be skewed to the people you hang around with. So that goes back to what you were saying. It's like your inner circle is so important, because let's say she did want to take the risk and be single, and then there's somebody like me saying the dating pool out there is insane. She's going to get scared and she's going to go into scarcity mode, and she's gonna be like, oh my god, forget it, I think the grass is greener out there, I'm not gonna take the risk, because if Alessia's been single, then I don't know, like, what is it gonna be for me? It's like, if you're around people though that are like, look at all these amazing guys, look at the, like, he's so amazing, he'd be amazing for you, just to say, you know what I mean, your idea of being single won't be as scary.
Your environment is like who you are, and it really trickles down on you. And if you have all these,
tell me who your 5 friends are, and I'll tell you who you are and where you're going. That's essentially what we're saying.
I mean, it's essentially what we're saying. But I also just think it has like a big impact on like how you view the world. And like, it's like you said, like, that's the perfect example, honestly. If she would go to someone who's saying that, or like someone else,
but I
who's
said
like,
it as a joke.
Yeah, as a joke.
I'm really like thriving for her to like,
absolutely. But I just like, it all depends. Like when you're going to someone who would be like, oh, like dating is trash, no, just stay with your man, and you're like, okay, fuck,
obviously
I don't know what to
that person isn't finding anybody. They're negative, and
exactly,
and their inner circle and the people they're surrounded with are that.
And then that
so you're going to the
wrong
person.
It's just like negativity is like a disease, and it just goes on to everyone. And positivity is also like a disease, and you want to have positivity, because if you want to spread anything, spread positivity.
This is why you shouldn't take your parents' advice. A lot of the times we think that if you're older, you might have more experience, and like you should listen to your parents, because maybe your parents have been together for 30 years, so they know what it's like to be in a solid foundation, and like maybe that's who you should be going to for advice. But it's like, the truth of the matter is, we're living in a different day and age. It's very different. So sometimes it's like easier to speak to someone who is your friend, because they're living like real time with you, so they know what's going on.
They know you for who you are right now.
Exactly. And I think sometimes like when you go to parents, they have like outdated information for you, and it's just like, or if you're going up to somebody who hasn't been through that, or like goes for guys who always treat her bad, and you ask for advice on, let's say for example, okay, you're going up to you're talking with your friend, and you're like, I don't know, like I think like he's so needy, like he just calls me and talks to me all day long, like he never leaves me alone, like I never have a minute, like he's always calling me. A girl who like felt like she was missing that her whole life is going to be like, wow, he actually loves you. Like, that's such a good thing. So you're like, you're skewed now. You're like, wait, like I thought that was a little bit much and he might be insecure. But now my friend here is telling me that like,
I should be grateful.
Should be grateful. So it's like, sometimes when you get information from somebody who like doesn't have the resources or doesn't understand, they're going to give you false information. Woo. Based on what they know. So sometimes it's like, it's better to talk to somebody who's like been in a similar situation as you, or maybe talk to like an expert, or somebody who will like see it in a way where it's not like reflecting on like their experiences.
Absolutely.
Because it's gonna reflect on like how you go about things.
Absolutely. And back to like the parents thing, specifically like the mom thing, I think a lot of the times we obviously value what our parents want. We value the type of person that they'd want to see us with. But the truth is, like, they don't really know you like you do. And also, they're not living in your life every day. They're not going to be the one that's going to be married to your partner or having kids with this person. Like, yeah, sure, maybe to them, they might be thinking, this is a great guy for you. Like, this is who you should stay with. But they don't always know. Like, the amount of times that I've heard parents like rooting for relationships that I knew on the friend end of things was a horrible relationship, but the parents were like, why did you leave him? Like, you fucked this up, like yada yada yada, because they don't understand the reality of it. But the truth of the matter is, like, you can't really take these people's opinions, your parents necessarily's opinions into consideration, because they are also seeing it on like very blatant standards of like, is he successful? Does he treat you well? And that's it. Like, that's all they see. They don't see the inner workings.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say is, I go to my mom a lot for advice, and like I do value her advice too, but I feel like I don't always like, I really do value her advice, and sometimes I've been like shocked to certain things that she's like said and how she's felt, but she's always traveled a very interesting line of never telling me how she felt about my relationships or my partners. She'll always give like positive, like she'll always be like, yeah, I love him, I love this about him, I love that about him, but only when like I break up with them and like the relationship is really over, she'll be like, yeah, I didn't see the compatibility in XYZ area.
See,
but
I
she's
think
like,
I would be like that as a mom, 1000%.
yeah, she always lets me, because she's like, look, if you're happy, I'm happy. If I don't see it, it doesn't matter if I don't see it. Like, it doesn't matter because it's your relationship. So if you're happy and all these things are great for you, then that's what I want. And that's why I really genuinely value that she won't give me her unsolicited opinion until after the relationship, because it could really affect how I view.
Maybe you weren't ready for that advice, or like you needed to get there on your own. It's going to judge how you feel about that person. And it's like, it's not like, sometimes, Kate, if they're coming and asking for the advice, that's one thing. But if they're not, and then you're saying that, it's like, but what do you mean? Like, it's just going to fuck up like
absolutely
everything. And people just need to go through things sometimes and just come to their own conclusion. And just because you feel that certain way doesn't mean that that person feels that way in that relationship. And it's not for you to nitpick, especially if they didn't ask for your opinion.
And I think it's even harder when it comes to like your parents, because you also feel like it's such like a
like they like,
well,
you
they're
have
gonna
to
be
listen.
disappointed. Yeah, like you have to listen, and you're disappointing them by being with this person. Whereas friends, it's like, yeah, okay, if they don't agree, it's kind of like whatever. But I think if you listen too much to what the older generation or your parents says, you're gonna put a extra pressure on you that you don't need. And like you're gonna start looking at like, will my parents like this guy? And I understand that for certain people those things are really important, but the main concern should be, do you like this guy? Do you like this guy? Is this a guy for you? Because a lot of the time I've seen people with relationships that was like amazing for the family, and like the family loved him, and finally you found a great guy and all this stuff,
and then they
like,
have a hard time leaving them because they're like, well, my whole family likes that.
But they realize that I'm not happy with you. Like, you're actually not the kind of person I want. Although you're the kind of person my family wants, your family's not dating that person.
But also your family doesn't even really know them like you know them.
That's okay. You know? So maybe just stop listening to not just your moms, but also all the outside noise.
With everything, though, it's like in moderation. I think a lot of things, you know, older people will say that I think still hit, and are like, wow, like this is such good information to know, you know? Like one thing I saw online was like, never stop dating and never stop making fun activities and plans together. That's the rule to like having a successful marriage. And it's like, I look at that person who said that, and it like, I feel like it's still valid now. And it's so something that like, I see being something like I need and want, you know? So like I could see that being like making plans together always.
Absolutely. I think that there's a lot of things that you should take advice for, but I don't think that certain things like maybe dating and the person you're going for should be something that you should totally like fixate on, like your parents or other people's advice.
Yeah.
So basically, this episode is just...
Basically, it's not him, it's you.
Yeah.
I think though that if you work on all these 5 things that five, 6 things we just spoke about, that you'll have like you'll have a better interaction with yourself and the people you're attracting. And yeah.
Absolutely. And as always, like I think the biggest change comes from within, and you don't even realize how like changing your mentality, changing your energy is going to change everything around you and what you're attracting in your life. So instead of maybe pointing the finger at everybody else and why everything else isn't working for you, just start making things work for you.
Just make changes for yourself, and then you'll see the changes happen in like the type of people that start being attracted to you.
Absolutely. And if you're finding yourself in a place that you're just like over it, it's not gonna kill you to take a step back. Like, I think a lot of people feel rushed to date, and they feel like I'm on a time clock and I'm running out of time. But like, yes, but you're actually burning time by being not ready for something, because when you get it,
you're forcing it.
You're either gonna pass up on it and not even notice that it flew by you, or you're getting it and you're not in the right headspace. So you're actually saving yourself a lot of time by taking a step back, recouping and rejuvenating and getting back to like a healthy, positive mindset. And that is literally in the long run going to save you so much time.
Literally. And when you stop looking, you find. When you look, you get people that aren't for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shit.
Hi, Alessia.
Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. As usual, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below. Let us know if you enjoyed this episode and
If you want a part 2 with the other 5 chapters.
or if you want the book. I feel like we need to write by Alessia, Veronica, and whoever wrote this book. Literally.
Bye, guys. We love you.